Without them, you don't have a concept, and without a concept, your design is going to be a mess. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Space for Edit. So lovely to have you here. On this channel, we talk about all the things that you need to know as an interior designer in the real world, but they might not teach you in the design school. And in today's video, we are talking about something that has been requested for the longest time since day one of Space for Edit's existence, and that is interior design mood boards. We are going to be talking about what mood boards are, how to create them, why do we need them, what it's all about, why do designers use them, why do clients need them. So basically I'm just going to give you some information, some background knowledge from the field of interior design. Okay, let's get to the video. So in my own words, I would say that a mood board is a combination of images that really represent the grand vision that you have for the space. It can be a combination of images and sometimes text that really represents that look and feel that you are trying to achieve. So whether it is the whole setup that you like, or maybe it's like a smaller detail that you want to really focus on. So it's like a combination of it all. You need to create this overall vision for your client. Sometimes your client might already have some inspirational images, or they've done their research already and they have sent you these images. So you can't always use them, but I would suggest to maybe just use one or two just to kind of show them, okay, I hear you, I know what you want me to achieve, but look at all of these other things that I found based on what you have given me. So it's really up to you, the designer, to kind of take the lead and take the client with you. And in just simple terms, I would say think of a mood board as a story, but instead of words, you are using images. So mood boards are usually the first kind of design document that an interior designer will produce. Sometimes they go hand in hand with proposed layouts, but usually we try to push the look and feel first, just to kind of get the ball rolling, get the conversation going, break the ice. Without them, you don't have a concept, and without a concept, your design is going to be a mess. So that's why it's so important to start the conversation, get the ball rolling, and be kind of on the same page with your client. Personally, I like to send out mood boards first, and then maybe after I had the feedback about them, then I can start working on the layout, or even send the mood boards out first and then the layouts just shortly after. And there's two reasons why. First of all, I think it's a lot more interesting and exciting for your client to receive something visual that they can actually understand. What you need to remember is that your client is not trained interior designer or architect or a builder, well, most of the times, and they will just not understand 2D plans and 2D drawings. So if you just start with drawings first, then that conversation can be quite dry and not exciting. But if you start with some exciting visuals and a theme and a look and feel, then you know it gets their blood going and heart rate pumping, and they get excited about it all as well. And the second reason why I prefer to send out the mood boards first is because that actually gives me inspiration later on when I start to plan the space. So I can get some inspiration from the layout, or maybe what type, style, size, height, furniture I'm going to be using. So I can really kind of bounce back ideas to the mood board and put it all in a plan in 2D, and it's going to make sense because I already know that the client has approved on that first vision. So mood boards, I think, are actually quite a powerful thing. If you are familiar with the law of attraction, then you will know how powerful vision boards are, and if you are not, then you need to look into it because it 100% works. So the reason why we start the design process with mood boards and kind of creating this vision, because that's it. You are creating a physical proof, or maybe sometimes it's digital proof, that your client's vision is doable, it can become reality, not just like a combination of thoughts and ideas in their mind. And like I said, it's almost as well like a little conversation starter, a little icebreaker. When you meet someone for the first time, you're not just gonna go straight banging with your whole life story and give all the details about where you studied, where you worked, what your mum and dad is, and things like that. You will start like quite softly, you know, checking the waters and just like pulling little information from them, because it's, you know, conversation is a two-way situation. So that's what we do with mood boards. We warm up the client, we test the waters, we give them our vision and just get a feel for it. Because even after the first round of feedback, you can go back and make some updates, create maybe a little more advanced mood board version, or maybe something that's more aligned with their vision that you didn't really pick up in the first edition. And another big thing that we shouldn't overlook or forget about is that it really creates the foundations that you are going to be building your design on. So if you think about it, if your client hasn't really bought in to the concept right from the beginning, then you kind of just fast forward it, give them floor plans, start focusing on the floor plans and the flow of the space maybe, and then you start creating your visuals and the 3D look and feel. You start pulling together your sample boards and finishes and things like that, and you go to the presentation all excited, and it turns out that they don't really like what they are seeing, because again, your client's imagination or three-dimensional feel is not the same as yours. I have to be honest and admit that this has happened quite a few times in my career so far. Most of the times it's because we are working with bigger teams and there's a lot of hierarchy that these mood boards need to go through and a lot of approvals that people need to stamp on. So if you imagine that someone somewhere didn't pick up the email or didn't think that that was important enough to give their feedback and just didn't do anything about it, and you as a designer just think, okay, well, that box is ticked, I can move on to my next task. If that sort of miscommunication happens, then it's very easy to kind of fall flat once you get to the 3D visualization stage, or even later on with the finishes and detailed drawings. So yeah, it can be quite frustrating, and that's why confirming and ticking off the mood board box is very, very important. Okay, so this is probably the part where most of you, if you are just starting out, feel a little bit confused or kind of overwhelmed almost, because I bet if you sat down and started to look around and think, okay, what types of mood boards have I seen around? You will probably think, okay, well, this person did it this way and that person did it that way. It's easy to get confused. So what I've decided is to just break down the main types of mood boards. And again, it's all in my own words. This is not some textbook stuff. This is not approved by the gods of interior design academies. But this is basically just what we use in the industry, in real life, and those different types of mood boards that you will probably come across more frequently. So the mix and match type of mood board is quite flexible. There isn't much of a structure apart from just your eye and your vision and maybe your understanding of composition rules. So if you need to do a little bit more digging into composition and just the basics of how to work with a layout, then go ahead and do that. I'm not going to cover that in this video. The main takeaway is that if everything looks nice and balanced, then you have ticked the box. So on these type of boards, you could probably have like images of the look and feel of the space. So you think, you know what, that photo really represents the kind of feel that I'm going for. It's got the colors, it's got the finishes that I'm going for. Then maybe next to that you've got actual pieces of furniture that you want to use, or pieces of lighting that you want to use, even just like an example of a color scheme like a flat lay. It's all quite loose, so you can be flexible with the layout that you use as well as the images that you use. So the structured type mood boards, obviously, as you can tell, have got quite a strict layout and is usually following some sort of a template. So it's not going to be quite as loose and flexible, but usually these images are kind of in their own little boxes. Whether the boxes are all the same size or maybe they are in different sizes, but you can kind of feel that sense of geometry and kind of a neatness and clean lines. And what this does is really helps you to kind of have the same look and feel about all of your presentations. So if someone picks up your design presentation, then they will be able to tell that, oh, okay, this is something that I've seen before. And these type of mood boards are usually quite popular when you have a bigger team of designers. So you can imagine if you have 5 designers working in your team and they all start to create mix and match type of mood boards, it's just going to start to look quite messy. But when you have a nice, neat layout that people can follow, it's going to be a lot more easier, a lot more cleaner, as well as some people just have a better eye for the mix and match. So for those who are not as advanced, it can feel a little bit discouraging. You just don't want that in your design team. So this type of mood board is quite similar to the very first one we talked about, only this time you are introducing the layout that you are proposing. So remember at the beginning when I said that floor plans can go hand in hand and be issued with your mood boards, then this is a great opportunity how you could kind of incorporate both of them in one file. So usually we would have the floor plan in the middle and then the look and feel images kind of coming off it with maybe some notes around it. So as you are presenting the floor plan, you can also add the visual image to it. It's not my favorite type of mood boards, but sometimes it just works and you just have to go with it. This is also quite a quick approach to mood boards in my opinion, and can save your client some money because you will be spending a lot less time on your design process. So maybe if your client has got a low budget and they can't really afford the all singing dancing proposal, you can really just zone in and create this kind of combined mood board slash layout proposal. And a quick thing I just wanted to add before I finish off this section is that obviously you can add text to all of these mood boards, and actually sometimes that text, that little phrase really just helps to point out what exactly you mean by adding that photo with some plants in it, or maybe why have you chosen this type of furniture. So is it the curved lines that you want your client to look at, or in that greenery photo, is it the concept of biophilia that you want to kind of introduce in the scheme? So don't write essays, but it's always nice to just kind of add little phrases here and there if you really explain your vision better and just get the message across to your client. Okay, so this is another quite popular question. And I can see why. Because there are so many softwares and apps out there that are, first of all, free. Second, they do the job for you, even create mood boards for you. So sometimes it's confusing for people to really understand why would you have to spend a membership or some sort of a money for software if you can kind of just go out and use a free application. I can't really vouch for them myself because I have never really used them, but what I can do is tell you what we as commercial designers use in the industry and why. So the most popular software is obviously Adobe Photoshop and Adobe InDesign, or you can also use your good old PowerPoint presentation or Pages if you're a MacBook user. So about the Adobe ones, obviously you now have to pay a subscription fee, which is monthly. I think I pay around £10 a month for like a photography plan for Adobe Photoshop, and I think it's quite similar with InDesign, or maybe you can get like different packages where Photoshop and InDesign are together, but you have to pay a subscription fee. And I understand that people would argue and ask, well, why should I pay if I can get something for free? Yes, you can, but if you are really serious about your business, if you are serious about your time and the quality of your work, then you should be willing to invest this money. Yes, you can do it for free, but it's probably going to take you a lot longer and the quality is just not going to be there. It's just not going to be professional. But if we touch on the free software that you usually get with your computer, which is PowerPoint and Pages, you can still use them, but whenever I have gone that route, I've always ended up with quite bulky and chunky files, which then I need to figure out how to lower the size, just because these softwares are not designed to hold that much visual information. So it's more like for text documents and maybe just splashing in an image here and there, not like creating a whole big mood board, which also needs to be in good quality if you are planning to print them out eventually. So my suggestion here is just invest in yourself, invest in your business, and take it as a given that you will have to spend some money on softwares. And if you do end up using any of these, I would suggest that probably Pages and PowerPoint are better for mood type number 2, so that's where they've got the grid and where they've got the structure. You can also use mood board 2 if you are using InDesign, because that's what InDesign is really designed for. Usually graphic designers use it for posters or books or magazines, and then you can use Photoshop, and sometimes you can even get away with PowerPoint to really create that flexible look and feel about your mood board. So mood board number 1 and number 3. Okay. This is a question that everyone's always asking. How do I know what to include? How do I know that it's enough? How do I know that it's not too much? And there's just so much tension around this topic and around this question. So let's just kind of break it down and take a deep breath, because it's not that hard. It is actually quite simple. So first of all, you start with your research. Just start to gather all the images, whether it's on a Pinterest board or whether you save it on your computer. Just kind of gather all the images that you're looking for, and at the same time, think about the color scheme, because at the end of the day, all of these images will sit on one page. And if you are proposing a nice natural scheme that has got all the earthy tones, you can't really be using an image of a chair that is covered in bright red fabric. Obviously you can Photoshop it, but let's save some time here and let's not get into that. First of all, just go and do your research, make sure the color scheme fits, get inspired, mix and match. Like I said before, use some overall look and feel images, then maybe use some detail of like a back of a chair, or maybe the beading around it, or if it is like a shelf, how the shelf is fitted to the wall. There's so much good images out there, especially on Pinterest these days, that I don't think there is any excuse for you not to create a fabulous mood board. If we are speaking about color schemes and details, then you can also use flat lay images, and these are time savers and they just help you so much. So use and abuse the fact that someone has spent time to actually get materials, get finishes, put them together in a nice flat lay, and there you go. You just pop it in your presentation, in your mood board, and it's there instantly. Your client will understand the sort of look and feel for the finishes that you want to include in the scheme. And as far as planning the actual layout of the mood board goes, again, I just have to tell you, just trust your gut. Like I said before, if you need to do a bit more research or maybe studies into composition and how to work with a layout, with a space, with a blank sheet, then go and do that. I used to take a class for 4 years in college, which was all about composition. And obviously back in the day, we did a lot more work with scissors and papers and glues. But throughout those 4 years, I really could kind of grasp what I'm supposed to do with a blank sheet. Maybe a couple of things I could say is, if you are using, let's say, the flexible approach and you are having mix and match of images, maybe try to use images of like light fittings and decorative elements, curtains and things like that on the top of the page. Then in the middle you can use more like furniture and what you're thinking of doing about the space kind of look and feel. And then at the bottom, use the flooring materials and things like that, your flat lays, and maybe some text. Overall, when your client kind of looks at the page, it makes sense. It's not like there's heavy chairs and heavy furniture at the top and then lighting at the bottom. It just kind of doesn't make sense. So yeah, maybe that's one of the things that I can leave you with today. Okay, also, I did ask my Instagram followers any questions that they might have about mood boards around the topic, and I've tried to kind of answer all of them already in this video, but there are a couple that I haven't yet focused on. So this really depends on the client and on the brief and on what you have agreed in your design fees, because you obviously don't want to do too much work that you're never going to be paid for. But one scenario could be that maybe you are giving your client a few options of the look and feel. I would never suggest to go over 3. Ideally, if you can just stick to 2 look and feel for a space, then that's ideal, because the more you give to your client, the more confused they're going to be. And remember what I said at the beginning, you are the leader, you are taking the lead, and you are creating this vision, or you are helping with this vision, so your client can really understand what you are trying to achieve. And obviously, if you are doing multiple spaces or multiple areas, multiple rooms, if it's residential design, then obviously you will create a mood board per room or per space. Okay, I see where you're going with this. It's kind of taking it to the next level. So yes, interesting concept, but I don't think it's the best thing to do with mood boards, especially if you start adding prices to the furniture pieces or lighting pieces that you are proposing, because usually what happens, people only see money. People only start to focus on the numbers, when actually with mood boards, like we said before, we are creating the vision. We want to focus on the look and feel. We want to kind of get that initial response from the client and see that yes, this is the type of space that they would love to live in or love to see as their own business. So yes, the thought is there, the thought is good, but maybe leave that for the next stage when you are creating specification sheets and sending your client more research maybe on all the products that you have found. Because essentially what we want from mood boards is for your client to say, yes, I love that, and no, I actually absolutely hate that. Can we take it off and put something else instead of that? That is all we need to achieve with mood boards. Later on you can discuss all the details. Okay, so that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something new. Have you? Let me know in the comments below. Also, whilst you're there, go and subscribe and click the bell to make sure that you are always notified with updates about all the other beautiful and exciting things that are coming your way. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to screenshot it and tag me on Instagram, spaceforedit. That's where I always post just random bits from my day-to-day life, which is not really as exciting at the moment, but you never know. Whenever you are watching this video, it might be something very exciting going on there. So if we don't get a chance to catch up on Instagram, then I'll probably see you in the next video. Bye! No, let's start again. Also, if you are familiar with the law of attraction, oh my god.